The warrior queen stands upon the battlefield, her armor dented and torn, her sword heavy in her grasp, her breath Comey's ragged, her vision blurs with pain, but she refuses to fall. She is the last of her kind, the last to hold the line against the invaders. Her people look to her for salvation, but the tide has turned against them. The enemy is relentless, their forces unyielding, and she knows in the depths of her soul that this is the end. Her enemies surround her, their blades glinting with the blood of her warriors. They sneer, they jeer, they revel in her despair. She raises her sword one final time, her muscles screaming in protest, her heart pounding like a war drum. She lunges forward, her blade finds flesh, but so does theirs. Agony lances through her body. She stumbles, she falls, her vision darkens. She hears the roar of victory, but it is not her own. She awakens to the sound of chains rattling. The scent of damp stone and rotting straw fills her nostrils. Her limbs are weak, her body broken. She lies upon the cold floor of a dungeon, her wounds hastily bandaged. But pain lingers in every fiber of her being. She is alive, but she does not know why. Footsteps approach, slow, deliberate. She does not move, does not flinch, does not show weakness even now. Even as a prisoner, a figure steps into the dim light, a human, a slave, one she remembers well. He had served in her halls, a creature of no consequence, someone beneath notice. Yet here he stands whole and unbroken while she lies in chains. He kneels beside her, his expression unreadable. He reaches out, she flinches, but he does not strike. Instead, he presses a damp cloth to her forehead. The coolness soothes her fevered skin. He speaks, his voice quiet. Measured, you should not be alive, he says. Neither should you, she retorts, her voice hoarse. He does not smile, does not flinch, merely continues his task of tending to her wounds. She despised him, once saw him as lesser than dirt beneath her feet, yet now he is her only ally in this wretched place. He brings her water, brings her food, tends to her wounds. When she curses him, he does not react. When she demands answers, he offers none. When she demands freedom, he merely shakes his head. You would die beyond these walls, he says. In time, she comes to believe him. Days pass, then weeks. Her strength returns slowly, painfully. She learns that the enemy king has plans for her. Plans she dreads more than death. Her escape is impossible, but the slave, he has a plan. She scoffs at the notion, at first trusting a human, trusting a slave, yet desperation makes strange allies. The night comes when he brings her a blade, stolen keys, whispers of the guard's schedules. He has risked everything for her, and she does not know why, yet she does not question. She acts. The way is treacherous, the alarm will sound, but she does not falter. She is the warrior queen, she will not fall again. They move through the corridors, silent as shadows. He leads, she follows. Guards appear, still flashes, blood spills. They press on, she bleeds, but she does not stop. The night air greets them with the promise of freedom, but the enemy is close behind. Arrows fly, feet pound against stone. She turns to fight, but he grabs her arm. No more fighting, not now, he says, and she allows herself to be pulled away. The forest swallows them, the darkness, their only shield. They run until they cannot. They collapse among the roots of an ancient tree, her breath heaving, his hands shaking. She looks at him, truly looks at him for the first time. Why, she asks. He does not answer, not with words. He simply bows his head as if he is still a slave, but she knows the truth now. He was never beneath her, he was always greater than she ever dared to see. They move deeper into the forest, away from the war, away from the ruins of her past. He speaks. Little she listens more. For the first time she begins to hear him, not as a servant, not as a slave, but as a man, as an equal. He speaks of freedom, not only hers, but his. He had spent a life in chains, never daring to hope, yet now here they were running together, both outcasts, both hunted but alive. The enemy pursues them, their forces vast, their determination relentless. She knows they cannot run forever, she knows they must fight. But she is not alone this time. The slave, no longer a slave, stands beside her, blade in hand, steel gleaming with the light of the fire. They build to keep the dark at bay. He does not cower, he does not hesitate. She sees in him a warrior, one who had been hidden beneath the weight of servitude for too long. The battle comes, swift, brutal, unforgiving. Their blades sing in the moonlight, their enemies fall one by one. But they are only two against many, the odds are against them. She bleeds, he bleeds. They fight until their strength is gone, until the world spins, until breath is ragged and vision blurs, but they do not yield. The dawn breaks upon a battlefield littered with the dead, and they still stand wounded. But victorious she turns to him, she sees the fire. In his eyes the unshakable resolve of a man who had defied fate itself. They are free, but freedom comes with a cost they can never return to. What was the past is gone, the future uncertain, but they face it together. She was once a queen, now she is something more, not a ruler, not a conqueror, but a warrior, who fights not for power, not for glory, but for something greater, and he stands beside her not as a slave, not as a servant, but as an equal, as a brother in arms, as the only soul who stood when all others fell.